Level 0. 12 people have walked on the moon, 12 out of 8 billion humans alive today. They got to stand on another world, look back at Earth hanging in black nothing, and then come home. We put them on a postage stamp, named a few craters after them, moved on. Familiarity does that. It turns extraordinary things into furniture. Our moon is tidally locked to Earth, always showing us the same face. The near side is the one in every photograph, every mythology, every painting of the sea at night. The far side was never seen until 1959 when a Soviet spacecraft swung around and sent back photographs. A completely different landscape. Fewer dark volcanic plains, far more craters, rougher terrain. Same moon. Two completely different personalities, one of which we spent the entire span of human civilization never seeing. How it got there is its own story. Around 4.5 billion years ago, a body roughly the size of Mars called Theia hit early Earth at an angle, and the debris thrown into orbit gradually gathered into the moon we know now. This is the giant impact hypothesis, the best supported model we currently have. No active geology, no plate tectonics, essentially no atmosphere. The Apollo footprints are still sitting there, perfectly preserved and will be for millions of years because there is nothing on the moon to disturb them. Dead, familiar, completely stable. The control group, the baseline. The universe hands you a ruler before it shows you what it actually built everywhere else. Because one moon over from us orbiting Jupiter, something is happening that should not be possible for something that size. It has been happening for billions of years, and it looks like nothing else in the solar system. Level 1. Io is wrong. That is the most honest way to put it. Every assumption you carry about what a moon is supposed to look like, Io ignores completely. Jupiter's innermost large moon looks like a pizza left out too long. Mottled yellow, orange, red, white. None of those colors are decorative. They are sulfur in different temperatures and chemical states, baking and cooling across a surface that is the most geologically active place in the entire solar system. More active than Earth, more active than anything else we have found anywhere. Over 400 active volcanoes, not dormant, not technically active, but currently quiet, erupting right now. Pele shoots a plume 186 miles into space. Loki Patera is a lava lake roughly the size of Lake Ontario, whose surface periodically overturns as fresh magma pushes up from below. When New Horizons flew past Io on its way to Pluto in 2007, it photographed eruptions in progress, curtains of fire visible from millions of miles away. Almost no impact craters exist on Io because the surface rebuilds itself fast enough that any crater fills in before it can be properly mapped. The ground is remaking itself while you stand on it. The surface temperature in some regions reaches 2,960 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than most of Earth's volcanoes. Io sits caught between Jupiter's gravity and the competing pulls of Europa and Ganymede. Three bodies pulling against each other constantly, never stopping. It flexes Io's interior, generates heat through friction, bending a metal rod back and forth until it warms. Now do it to a whole moon for 4 billion years. The interior never solidifies, the heat goes up. The most geologically violent place in the solar system. Not a planet, a moon, one orbit away beneath a smooth and silent ice shell. Something is sitting in the dark that planetary scientists have been losing sleep over for 30 years, and we still do not know what is actually in it. Level 2. Europa looks boring. That is the trap. Smooth, pale, crisscrossed with reddish-brown lines like old porcelain that got dropped and glued back together. No dramatic features, no visible activity. Small and quiet and easy to overlook. That smoothness is the tell. A moon with a heavily cratered surface has held its terrain for a long time. Europa has almost no large craters. The surface is constantly refreshed. Something beneath the ice is doing it. Somewhere between 6 to 19 miles below the surface, there is a global ocean of liquid salt water. Not patches of it, not seasonal melt. A worldwide ocean that scientists estimate contains more than twice the volume of all of Earth's oceans combined, and probably liquid for billions of years straight. The same tidal heating that drives Io's volcanism is responsible, just at lower intensity. Enough warmth to prevent the water from freezing from below, not enough to strip the surface bare. The reddish lines are fractures where ocean material welled up through the ice, oxidized, and refroze. In some regions, the ice has broken into chaotic, jumbled terrain, which means the ocean below was turbulent enough to rearrange the surface from underneath. The ice shell itself tells a story of constant renewal. Regions called chaos terrain show where warm ice or liquid water rose from below, broke through the surface, and refroze in jumbled blocks. These blocks are the size of cities, and they have not moved in thousands of years. On Earth, entire ecosystems live at deep-sea hydrothermal vents in total darkness, running on chemical energy from rock with no sunlight involved at all. If Europa's ocean floor has similar hydrothermal activity, which tidal heating makes physically likely, then liquid water, chemical energy, and organic molecules are all present in the same place. NASA's Europa Clipper launched in 2024 and is currently in transit. It will fly through suspected water vapor plumes venting from the surface and read whatever chemistry is escaping into space. If life exists in that ocean, we might detect a chemical trace of it without ever landing. Nobody is prepared for what finding that would actually mean. Not politically, not philosophically, not in any real way. Europa will not tell us anything on its own. It keeps the ocean sealed and the surface smooth and says nothing at all. The next moon is already leaking its interior into space. It has been for a long time. Level 3, Enceladus is 313 miles across. Before Cassini started making close passes at Saturn, most scientists would have described it as a frozen, unremarkable ice ball with nothing happening on it. Then, in 2005, Cassini swung around the South Pole. Over 100 geysers erupt from parallel fractures near the South Pole, blasting material at around 870 miles per hour, directly into space. Water vapor, ice particles, sodium, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, methane, complex organic molecules. Cassini did not observe these from a careful distance. It flew through them deliberately, multiple times, instruments running the whole time. The plumes emerge from 4 parallel fractures called tiger stripes, each roughly 81 miles, long and spaced evenly across the south polar region. The fractures glow with infrared heat, marking where the ice is warmest and the geysers most active. Hydrogen and carbon dioxide together in liquid water is a specific chemical fingerprint. It points to hydrothermal activity where hot rock meets ocean water at a seafloor. That is exactly the chemistry sustaining life at Earth's deep sea vents. Ecosystems running in total darkness with no connection to the sun. The ocean beneath Enceladus is global. The ice shell is thin enough at the South Pole that material escapes through those fractures like steam from a valve. Some of it never falls back. It feeds Saturn's E-ring, the outermost broad ring that would not exist without Enceladus, pushing material into it continuously. This moon, barely bigger than some asteroids, is maintaining a planetary ring. It probably has a habitable ocean, and it has been venting that ocean's chemistry into open space for what may be hundreds of millions of years, waiting for something to fly through and read it. The chemistry for life is probably there. Whether anything ever used it is a question that requires drilling through kilometers of ice on a moon of Saturn, which nobody has figured out how to do yet. The answer exists in that ocean right now, and we cannot reach it. The next moon would fit Enceladus inside it roughly 1,000 times over, and it has its own auroras, generated by its own magnetic field, which a moon should not have. Level 4. Ganymede is the largest moon in the solar system, larger than Mercury, larger than Pluto by a margin that is almost uncomfortable. If it were orbiting the Sun instead of Jupiter, the scientific community would have called it a planet and moved on. It generates its own magnetic field, not reflected, not borrowed from Jupiter. Self-generated, produced by convection in a molten iron core beneath its surface. Ganymede is the only moon in the solar system confirmed to do this. Where Jupiter's vast magnetosphere meets Ganymede's smaller independent one, auroras form at the poles, ribbons of ultraviolet light photographed by the Hubble Space Telescope. A moon with its own auroras, powered entirely by its own internal processes. The magnetic field strength is about 1% of Earth's field, but for a moon, that is extraordinary. It creates a mini magnetosphere embedded within Jupiter's larger one, a bubble of magnetic influence where Ganymede controls its own space environment. The surface tells 2 geological stories at once. Ancient dark terrain, heavily cratered, billions of years old, sitting right next to younger grooved bright terrain where internal activity once resurfaced the older ground. 2 distinct eras, both visible from orbit simultaneously. Beneath all of that, there is almost certainly a saltwater ocean. In 2015, Hubble astronomers tracked subtle oscillations in Ganymede's auroras over time. Those oscillations matched exactly what you would predict if a conductive layer below the surface were interfering with the magnetic interaction between Ganymede and Jupiter. Saltwater conducts electricity. The ocean is estimated around 497 miles below the surface, possibly sandwiched between layers of high-pressure ice. ESA's JUICE mission launched in 2023 and entered orbit around Ganymede in 2034, the first spacecraft ever to orbit a moon other than our own. Ganymede outsizes planets, generates auroras, and hides an ocean beneath more ice. Everything about Ganymede is large, stable, deep, and old, and very slow. The next moon runs on a liquid that would fill your car's fuel tank. It rains from clouds, flows in rivers, collects and sees, has been doing all of that for longer than complex life has existed on Earth. Level 5. Titan does not look like a moon. From orbit, it appears as a small, featureless orange sphere, hidden behind atmospheric haze so thick that Voyager 1 flew past in 1980 and captured essentially no surface detail whatsoever. Scientists waited until 2005 when the Huygens probe detached from Cassini and parachuted through that atmosphere over 2.5 hours to see the actual surface for the first time. What they found was a world running a full weather system on completely different chemistry. Not water, methane and ethane. Liquid hydrocarbons, fuel. Rivers of liquid methane cut channels through icy terrain. Lakes and seas sit near the poles. The largest, Kraken Mare, covering an area greater than the Caspian Sea at roughly 154,000 square miles. Methane rain falls periodically. Clouds drift through an orange nitrogen sky. Everything water does on Earth, methane does on Titan, at around negative 290 degrees Fahrenheit, in a cycle that has been running for billions of years. The atmosphere itself is thicker than Earth's. Surface pressure is about 1.5 times what you experience at sea level on Earth. The only other place in the solar system where you could stand on solid ground under significant atmospheric pressure without a pressure suit. The surface is blanketed in dune fields made of dark organic particles called tholins, produced when sunlight breaks apart nitrogen and methane high in the atmosphere. They rain down and pile into dunes hundreds of meters tall. Similar chemistry may have run on early Earth before life appeared. Titan might be the closest working model of prebiotic chemistry we can actually visit. NASA's Dragonfly mission is a nuclear-powered rotorcraft, launching in 2028 and arriving at Titan in 2034. It will not land in one place. It will fly between sampling sites across the surface, hopping from one chemical environment to the next. The most Earth-like place we have found in the solar system, powered by the wrong liquid, under a sky we still cannot fully explain. From here, things break. And the next moon broke the most fundamental rule of how moons form, which means it is already falling toward its own destruction. Has been for billions of years. Level 6. Every large moon in the solar system orbits in the same direction its planet rotates. That is what the physics of moon formation produces. That is how this is supposed to work. Triton orbits Neptune backwards, retrograde in an orbit tilted 157 degrees to Neptune's equator. That geometry does not appear in any formation model because Triton did not form around Neptune. It is a captured Kuiper belt object that came too close. The capture destabilized and ejected whatever moons Neptune had before. The system Triton arrived in no longer exists. Triton remade it. Surface temperature, negative 391 degrees Fahrenheit, among the coldest surfaces measured anywhere. And yet Triton has active nitrogen geysers, nitrogen ice absorbing just enough solar energy beneath the surface to turn to gas and vent through cracks, leaving dark plume streaks across the terrain. Voyager 2 photographed these in 1989. The coldest active geological surface we have ever visited is still erupting. The geysers are not driven by internal heat. Triton is too cold, too far from the sun, too geologically quiet overall. Instead, sunlight penetrates through translucent nitrogen ice, warms a subsurface layer just enough to vaporize it, and pressure builds until it breaks through. Because Triton orbits backwards, tidal interactions pull it toward Neptune rather than pushing it away. In roughly 3.6 billion years, it will cross inside Neptune's Roche limit, the distance at which tidal forces overcome the moon's own self-gravity, and come apart. Neptune will gain a ring system built from the shredded remains, probably more spectacular than Saturn's rings are right now. That outcome is already decided. Physics settled it billions of years ago. Only the exact date is still uncertain. A captured moon orbiting backwards, spiraling inward, geysers firing the entire way down. Slow-motion catastrophe, already in progress. And some moons do not even get a planet. They orbit whatever is left after the star explodes, or drift among smaller bodies that barely qualify as worlds themselves. Level 7. Pluto has 5 moons. Charon, the largest, is roughly half Pluto's diameter, large enough that the two objects orbit a shared point in space between them rather than inside Pluto. Tidally locked to each other, the same faces always turned inward. Some planetary scientists argue the whole system should be classified as binary. When New Horizons flew through in 2015, it found Charon's North Pole stained deep reddish-brown. Methane leaking from Pluto's thin atmosphere drifts across, gets cold-trapped at the pole through winter darkness, and gets chemically altered by cosmic radiation into tholins. Pluto has been slowly painting its moon from across 11,800 miles of space. It has been for a long time. The other 4 moons, Styx, Nix, Kerberos, and Hydra, are tiny and irregular, probably fragments left over from the same impact that formed Charon. They tumble chaotically rather than keeping one face toward Pluto. Out in the Kuiper Belt, Haumea has 2 moons and a ring system, making it the only known Kuiper Belt object confirmed to have rings. Eris has a moon. Makemake has one, discovered in 2016. Closer in, asteroids have moons too. Galileo photographed the asteroid Ida in 1993 and caught a small companion, now called Dactyl, less than 1 mile across, orbiting alongside it. Over 400 asteroids have since been confirmed to have companion moons. In 2022, NASA's DART spacecraft deliberately hit Dimorphos, a small moonlet orbiting the asteroid Didymos, and shortened its orbital period by 33 minutes. A spacecraft from Earth changed the orbit of a moon 6.8 million miles away for a test. The test succeeded. Dimorphos now orbits Didymos faster than it did before impact. The technique works. If an asteroid is ever found on a collision course with Earth, we now know we can move it by hitting it hard enough with a spacecraft. Moons orbit planets, dwarf planets, asteroids. The solar system puts them wherever gravity gives something enough pull to hold a companion. They are everywhere. We have found around 900 moons in our solar system, studied maybe a dozen. The rest are unresolved points of light in archival data. Unknown, unvisited, still waiting. We have not confirmed a single moon outside our solar system. Not one, out of thousands of known exoplanets. A candidate appeared in 2018 around Kepler, 1625b, but remains contested. Another candidate emerged around Kepler, 1708b in 2022, similarly uncertain. The methodology to detect exomoons exists. The sensitivity is almost there. When the first confirmed detection happens, the entire framework of searching for life beyond Earth shifts overnight, because the strongest candidates in our own solar system are not planets. They are moons. Europa, Enceladus, Titan, every one of them orbiting a planet, not a planet itself. If habitable moons are common around gas giants in other star systems, and gas giants appear to be extremely common, then the number of potentially habitable worlds in the galaxy is not counted in planets. It is counted in moons, and we have not found a single one yet outside our solar system. Not because they are not there, but because our instruments are not quite sensitive enough to catch the tiny wobble or dim transit signature a moon produces. That will change. The next generation of space telescopes will find them. Dozens, then hundreds, each one a data point, each one proof that what we see in our solar system is not rare. Somewhere in that future list is almost certainly a moon doing something that does not fit any category we currently have. Not a geyser moon, not a volcanic moon, something we do not have a word for yet. Probably been doing it for millions of years already. We have not pointed a single telescope at it yet. We do not even know which one it is.